Hi, I'm Kat, and this is today's tarot. Today is summer solstice for those of us who are in the northern hemisphere, which means it's going to be the longest day of the year. We're going to have the most sunshine today than we have in any other day of the year because it is the longest day of the year. So I hope you're outside doing something to celebrate this wonderful earth that we live on and all of the places that bring us peace and healing and time to get away from the busyness of life. I hope you find time to honor that today and to give appreciation to this earth, because it's the whole reason why we can even be here on this planet. With that said, let's go ahead and jump into today's tarot. The opening card that we have for today is the Hermit card. So this is speaking of a time of deep self-reflection and looking inwardly, kind of having some separation from groups and taking a perspective shift as far as how you live your life, what behaviors you're doing that might not be useful for you, might not be practical for you, might even be damaging in some ways to your body or your mind or your emotions. And this is a time of reflection and looking at what we actually need to do to balance that out. And it's important with Virgo energy that we have some compassion with ourselves, because Virgo as a sign can be the worst critic because they're always dissecting things and analyzing things. They have a very active mind. They have a mind that's rooted in, an earth energy because it's ruled by Mercury. So it's this very practical way of looking at things and witnessing things and working with life. And so it's bringing up our daily routines and giving us reflection as far as what we're doing that is useful and what isn't useful, and where we might need to rearrange our focus and our time so that we can actually take better care of ourselves. Now, the challenge that we have that showed up for today is the Sun. Now, this card is typically one of the most beneficial cards in the tarot system, and it speaks to, living in our true essence of self and acknowledging, our light that we can bring into the world, much like this benefit that the globe and the world gets from the sun when it shines its light on the earth. We also get a benefit when the sun isn't shining its light on the earth. There's this balance between stillness and activity. And it may be, that this is showing up as a challenge because we feel restricted in showing up in our true nature. And it may also mean that we're not actually allowing ourselves to shine our light. We might be dimming ourselves in some way. And so it's showing up as a challenge because it's something that we're learning to work with and learning to witness. And, having this energy of Virgo showing up today too is telling that we might be overly critical of ourselves. So that is our challenge for today. The way that we're going to get through the challenge is the energy of the Knight of Pentacles. So this is a very solid earth energy. So it speaks to having patience in a situation. There might be a scenario that you feel like you need to act on, or that really challenges who you are. And this is asking you to just have patience, move slowly. Don't be fiery, right? Fiery is that super active energy that just moves forward without consideration. Earth is an energy that moves slowly and purposefully and thinks about things in a very practical way. And so this is how we're going to be working through the challenge, is to get into our own elemental sense of what earth feels like, to be grounded and to be intentional with where you put your like where you allow impressions to come in and how you shape them yourself. Like, don't be overly critical with it, but instead just allow information to come in. Be open for that information to come in and move very purposely rather than moving in a rushed, hasteful manner. Ironically, when I pulled out this card, the second card came out as well, which is another major arcana. So far, we have 3 out of the 4 cards I've pulled for today. This major arcana is the Moon, and this is speaking to, what isn't seen. Like, what are we focusing on that's limiting what we're actually seeing, and to allow for that other quality of light to come through and lend some new perspective. You know, it also brings up this kind of waiting time. It's like the 11th hour. How do you act in the 11th hour when when everything depends on, you know, that last leg of the race? How do you show up, and what calls you to show up? And that's what is going to help us get through this, you know, major arcana energy of today, which is really speaking to some kind of work that we are engaging in today during this, you know, big influence of the summer solstice. Now, the overall energy that we have for today is the Fool. So 4 out of the 5 cards that we drew for today are all major arcana, which is speaking to some really big life work that we're working on right now as, you know, just as a society in general. Now consider that the Fool card is ruled by Uranus, which is this energy that's been sitting in the sign of Taurus for the last number of years. And Uranus is a planet of change, unexpected change, and it brings those changes into areas in our lives that we had built stability in because it's in the sign of Taurus. And yet it's upsetting that, and it's not upsetting it in a cruel, you know, karmic way. It's actually upsetting it in a way that creates opportunity for us. It creates an opening for us to act in a new way and to respond in a new way. And it's doing it for all of us, depending on where Taurus is sitting in your chart, in your specific natal chart. Now, this energy that we see within this character in the card is that he is stepping forward with this sense of direction that comes from the divine. It comes from a higher place. So it's like hearing a calling and responding to it, and knowing that that calling comes from your higher self. It calls from what is being engaged within you, within all of this change, to act, and to act from a place of your own heart and where you feel called to act. And I just want to reflect on, how do we feel called to act, right? Like, you can feel called to act in your heart. You can feel called to act just in your emotional being, right? It's like there's no thought even involved. You know, if a kid is walking across the street, you just run out and grab them. You don't think, I wonder if that kid's going to stop. You go out and stop that kid from walking across the street, you know, or call to them or something, some way of just acting out of instinct. And that's what we are working with within all these changes. It's creating an opportunity for us to act out of instinct and listen to our sensory system, to know when to respond and how to respond, and to trust in our own essential nature to guide us in that way. So lots of intense energies today as far as major arcanas go. Just a reminder, there are 78 cards in the tarot system, and only 22 of those are major arcanas. So they speak to major life lessons. And out of those 22 cards, we got 4 of them today in the 5 cards that we drew for today. So the overall energy today is to go slow, you know, move slow. You don't have to move so fast all the time. Move purposely, move intentionally, and be centered as we go through the day. I send you a good wish and so much love. I hope you enjoy some time outside. I'll see you again soon. Bye for now.